Hello, everyone. Thank you for checking out this episode of Nerd Caliber. Today, I'm with Nerdycurve, and we're going to talk about her amazing Lady Deadpool cosplay. I've met many different Deadpool cosplayers, and most times, and although this is totally okay, most times they usually buy their outfits and just slightly adjust them. But you've made this. Am I correct?
You are absolutely correct. There are a few pieces that I did not make. I did not make the guns. I did not make my gun holsters. And I did not make this wig. But everything else, I put a lot of blood, sweat, and tears, emphasis on tears.
So how did you begin the process? How did you begin the plans of making this cosplay?
So I've made bodysuits, like armed and legged bodysuits before. So I know that that's where I needed to start. So I basically started with a red bodysuit, and I knew that I wanted this to look as symmetrical as possible. I'm not sure if it looks completely symmetrical now, but I wanted it to be as symmetrical as possible. So I started with the design, with drawing it out, and then I took big sheets of paper and I put it on side of the bodysuit that I actually made and cut it out and then made my pattern that way. The bodysuit was not the most difficult part. The most difficult part for me was the actual mask. I tried, this is probably the third time that I tried making my mask. I couldn't figure out how to do it at first. And then after the third time, I figured out the best method for me personally, to start with a face shell that I found at like a craft store, you know, those white masks, like the theater masks that they have. I found one of those and then I cut most of it off, except for like these are individual parts that move by themselves. So I used that as a template for the black on the outside. And then I sewed the face mask. It took me several times to make the actual red spandex mask. I can't speak English today. So the hardest part was getting the mask to look the way I wanted it to. I wanted it to not be a solid shell. I've seen a lot that were very solid, but unless it's molded to the shape of your head, sometimes it looks a little different, a little off, in my opinion. Sometimes, so I wanted something that would fit as snug to my face and kind of meld the same kind of shape that my face has. So I like I said, I tried several different times to make it, but after I figured out with the eye parts, then the spandex would fit on over it, and then I ended up the first time it was the black was underneath, and then the third time they were on the outside, and I figured this is probably the best way. So I have on the inside of this, I have some foam. I have 5 millimeter foam underneath the cheeks and then above this part, so that my eyes aren't right against this mesh. This is silk mesh that I found. I do some silk screening, so I just used some spare silk screening mesh that I had, and I put it on the inside and I hot glued it. I was like, oh, this actually works. So from a distance, it looks very white, but because it's close to my eyes, I can see fairly clearly. I wouldn't drive with this mask on, but I feel confident I can walk and navigate around people just fine. So it was the planning portion for the mask was probably the most difficult thing out of everything. That's more time consuming than everything, I think.
Okay. Is it difficult to breathe with the mask on?
To be honest, it's not that difficult. I mean, it is not as easy as just without a barrier being in front of your face, but because of the material, it is very breathable. So it's not as easy as just inhaling normally, but it's not difficult.
Okay. And how do you get the wig to attach to the back of the mask?
So my hair is in a ponytail, and the mask actually has a hole, like right around here. So I pull my hair through the hole, and like a pony. It's like a fake ponytail. So it hooks on underneath the band where my hair is in the ponytail, and then I wrap it around, and then it just kind of brings it up together all in one part right here. So it looks like it's part of the mask, but it's actually going through it and then wrapped around it.
Oh, okay. And does it get really difficult to wear the costume for long periods of time?
It's very comfortable. I will say it's very comfortable. My mask is not attached to the actual bodysuit. They're separate. So if I go to like a convention when conventions were a thing, or if I'm wearing this out somewhere, I can easily just bring up the bottom part. So it's easy to eat or drink if I need to. And I mean it's lycra, so it's very movable. I don't really have any restrictions except for like my swords on my back. those are the only thing that's probably a little bit restricting as far as like moving my arms too much. But overall, everything is very flexible and easy to move around in.
Okay. You mentioned that the holsters and the belt and the swords you bought those separately for your costume. Where'd you?
Well, the swords I actually made. The I didn't make the wig. I didn't make the guns or the holsters. I actually had to order the holsters on Amazon, and I am a very cost-effective person, so I ended up getting my guns. They're actually water guns that I purchased from the Dollar Tree. But I spray painted them black, so they look just like Desert Eagles. But the swords, I like to do a lot of crafting in my spare time anyway. But I was able to find someone on YouTube who made paper mache weapons, and they did different paper art like origami. So I was watching a series of videos, and he made a set of origami swords, and I was like, "This is brilliant! I have tons of paper, I have tons of cardstock." So I sat one night and I made two for myself, and my son cosplays as Kidpool sometimes. So I made a set of swords for him, but it's my swords are paper mache, not paper mache. They're origami with electrical tape wrapped around the handles. So the handles look very realistic. The blades do not look as realistic, but they're also very lightweight because of the material that I used to make them. And
Okay.
the scabbard is actual one of my son's old backpacks from school that I cut up, and I use that to just go over my back. So
Oh wow. That's wow. That's amazing because it looks real. It looks heavy. Um, that's very impressive. Um, when it comes to costume care after you're done wearing the costume, what do you do to keep it in good condition as much as possible?
So every time I'm done wearing a costume, I'll take all of the lycra pieces and then the spandex pieces, and I will put them in. I have a mesh bag. I'll put them in a small mesh bag and put them on the gentle cycle in my washer. The mask is a little bit different because it has these two parts. So what I usually do is cover these with as much tape, or not tape, but like painter's tape or something like that, and then cover them with like a plastic bag or saran wrap. And I jerry rig it a little bit in my sink, where I have a sink that's got it's full of soapy water. Usually it's a little bit of fabric softener in there too, and I just let it soak for a little bit. Every so often they'll like swish the bottom part of the fabric around, and then I'll let it soak for a little bit, and then I'll empty out the water and then put fresh water in and do the same thing with just clear water to get the soap out of it. And then I just usually hang them to dry or sit them someplace where they're going to be undisturbed. The inside of the mask, I usually take like some baby wipes, and I'll wipe around the inside where my face has been in contact with it. Or sometimes if I've had makeup on previously in the day, I'll use makeup wipes and then baby wipes or something like that to clean the inside. Um, the backpack, I usually soak the sleeves of this because it's like right underneath my arms. I let that soak a little bit less time than when I do the mask, just because this doesn't seem to get as much wear as this being on my face. 'Cause my face gets very hot most of the time. I have shoes that I made. I took a regular pair of shoes. So I'll do similar to what I do with these pieces in the washers. I'll put them in the mesh bag and put them on the gentle cycle. They're very light shoes, so they don't clang around in my washer or my dryer. I'll usually sit those outside in the summertime, let them just air dry. But they're very light as well.
Oh, okay. If you were to redo the costume all over again, would there be anything that you would um, uh, do differently this time around?
I don't think. Well, I know it wouldn't take me as many tries to do the mask, and I wouldn't have gotten so upset making the whole bodysuit. I think I would do everything still the same way, but I feel like I would be able to do it more efficiently now. Now that I've had this experience of putting all the pieces together and the different aspects that I need, I think I'd be able to take care of it quicker and more cost effectively. And I think it would overall be done better. I think every time you've done something once, the next time you do it, it's always better than the first time. So
Okay. If for anyone out there that wants to do a Lady Deadpool cosplay, what would you say should be the beginning steps to start?
do you want to make a costume or do you want to buy it? Which I don't think there's absolutely anything wrong with purchasing a costume. There's if you're cosplay is just you're wearing a costume. So whether you made it, someone else made it, it doesn't matter. It just depends on what kind of effort you want to put into it. I think that's the very first step. And you decide you want to buy it, you got to find someone that makes it with very good quality because my this costume I made this costume 4 years ago and it's held up fairly well. I've done minor repairs here and there, but if you're going to spend a lot of places that do commissions, they do charge a higher amount, but you're also paying for quality too. So I wouldn't necessarily go for like someone that's cheap, but I would find something that's reasonable because you're paying for the quality. So you want something that's going to last you a while because it's an investment basically. But I would
Okay.
say if you want to make it, I will help you. But I think it's for me it's rewarding to go from nothing to creating something. So for me, I'm a glutton for punishment. So personally, if you're someone who's like that, then maybe you get more enjoyment out of actually going through the whole process and knowing what everything is about. Because I'm one of those people that I like to know how things are working and how this goes together and how does that mask sit on someone's face. So this depends on
Okay.
the kind of person you are.
Okay. So just to let our viewers know that you're not cosplaying a female version of Deadpool. You're actually playing a character called Lady Deadpool that actually exists in Marvel Comics. Um,
Yes.
so, of anything you could have chosen to cosplay, why did you choose this character?
Well, I Deadpool has been on my list. He's been in regular Deadpool or Lady Deadpool. That's been on my list, and it's been a fluctuating list. So when it came to actually watching the Deadpool movie, like the first Deadpool movie, that's when I was just like, there needs to be Wanda Wilson in one of these movies. I'm gonna cosplay Wanda Wilson because I every time you go to conventions, there's usually a ton of Deadpools, and they are always the most fun cosplayers that I end up encountering every time we would go to a convention. But I never see any Lady Deadpools, and I was like, I want to play Lady Deadpool because I never see Wanda Wilson anywhere. So that was what determined whether I was gonna do a version of Deadpool or I wanted to actually be Wanda Wilson, and that was what hit that off for me. And then I talked my son into cosplaying Kidpool because he was kind of fascinated with Deadpool core. So we started kind of going down that rabbit hole and seeing all the different versions of Deadpool there were. And it was amazing. It was just a fun experience because now he would refer to me as Lady Deadpool when we would go to conventions and he would be Kidpool. So we kind of like embodied those characters a little bit. And it was a lot of fun.
Um, if you could talk to Marvel Comics right now, where would you like to see the direction of Deadpool go?
I would like to see her, period, but I would like to see her as a regular, like a staple. Because I do a lot of live streaming on Twitch, and when I stream in costume, people come in, they're like, "Oh, Deadpool, Deadpool." Some people have no idea that there is a Wanda Wilson. So like, "Oh, you're just a female Deadpool." I'm like, "Well, I'm Wanda Wilson." Then I kind of have to say, "No, that's not Deadpool. She is." In Deadpool core, and then I have to go back and explain some things. So I guess if she was more a staple that people could understand who she was or know who she is, that she exists, and that she's just not Deadpool with a ponytail. That would be one thing that I would love to see her just out there and someone to know that there's more than one Deadpool around.
So, speaking of social media, where can people see your work, whether it be on Twitch or anything like that? Where can people find you?
Well, I do cosplay on stream occasionally. I just transitioned from Mixer. Mixer recently closed. I used to cosplay as Lady Deadpool regularly on Mixer. On Twitch, I just kind of transitioned over the past month. So I do cosplay streams. I stream every Monday, Wednesday, and Friday on Twitch, and Saturdays at 9 p.m. Monday, Wednesday, Friday is at 12 p.m. Eastern. A lot of my work can be found on Instagram and on Twitter. I use both of those social medias on a regular basis, but most of my work can be seen on Instagram.
Okay, and it's they can find it through like Nerdycurve on everything.
Uh-huh. Everything is Nerdycurve. There's no underscore. Twitch.tv/nerdycurve. Instagram.com/nerdycurve. Twitter.com/nerdycurve. Everything's the same.
Okay. Well, before we sign off, is there anything you want to tell our viewers that before we wrap up?
Cosplay is for everyone. I don't think that anyone should discriminate on someone's choice for what they decide to cosplay as. I don't think that anyone should be discriminated against because of how they look and when they cosplay. Cosplay is for everyone. Anyone who was hesitant about cosplaying or is a little afraid or nervous, I think is something that you should just do and not concern yourself with other people's thoughts. If you're going to cosplay, you're going to have fun doing it for you. You should do it for yourself if that's what you want. I don't think that you should worry about anything else. Just worry about what you want to cosplay and having fun.
Yep. What a great way to end this segment. Thank you everyone for watching, and stay tuned for more cosplay content.